There is a lie sitting in your wallet right now. You look at a dollar bill, a euro, or a pound, and you see money. You see value. You see something you worked for. But you are looking at a crime scene. For 5,000 years, money was gold. It was heavy, it was scarce, and it belonged to the person holding it. If you had a gold coin, you had wealth that no government could print away and no bank could freeze. It was freedom. But in the last century, that freedom was taken from you. Not by an invading army, but by your own government. They pulled off the greatest heist in human history. They didn't break into the vault. They simply changed the definition of money. They swapped your gold for paper, and then they swapped the paper for digital debt. To understand how you were enslaved by the current financial system, you have to go back to the moment the trap was sprung. The United States of America. The Great Depression is ravaging the economy. But the government has a problem. They want to print money to spend their way out of the crisis, but they can't. Why? Because of the gold standard. Under the law, every dollar had to be backed by physical gold. You couldn't print more paper unless you had more metal. Gold was the handcuffs on the politicians. It forced them to be honest. So, on April 5, 1933, President Franklin D. Roosevelt did the unthinkable. He issued Executive Order 6102. It criminalized the possession of monetary gold by any American citizen. Think about that. The government declared that holding real money was a crime, punishable by 10 years in prison. They forced citizens to turn in their gold savings to the Federal Reserve. In exchange, they gave them paper dollars worth $20.67 an ounce. Once the government had all the gold, what did they do? They immediately revalued it to $35 an ounce. Overnight, they stole roughly 40% of the wealth of every American saver. They devalued the paper money they just gave you, and the government pocketed the profit. This was the first major betrayal, but it wasn't the last. For decades, foreign nations could still redeem their dollars for gold. It kept the system somewhat honest, until 1971. The United States was spending money it didn't have. The Vietnam War, social programs. The debt was exploding. Countries like France saw the writing on the wall. They knew America was printing more paper claims than there was gold in the vault. They demanded their gold back. On August 15, 1971, President Nixon closed the gold window. He temporarily suspended the convertibility of the dollar into gold. That temporary measure is still in effect today, 50 years later. In that moment, the entire world shifted from a system of assets to a system of debt. The dollar became a fiat currency, backed by nothing but faith. And this is where the modern slavery begins. Because when money is no longer gold, it becomes a tool. Have you ever wondered why prices always go up? Why your grandfather could buy a house for $10,000, but you need $500,000 for the same box of wood and stone? They tell you it's inflation. They tell you it's growth. It is neither. It is theft. When money was gold, the supply was limited. You had to dig it out of the ground. It took energy, time, and effort. It had intrinsic value. But in a fiat system, money is created by debt. When the Federal Reserve or the ECB wants to stimulate the economy, they don't dig for gold. They type numbers into a computer. They call it quantitative easing. It sounds sophisticated. It's actually counterfeiting. When they print trillions of new dollars, they don't create new wealth. No new factories are built, no new energy is discovered. They simply dilute the pool of existing money. Every dollar they print steals a fraction of the value from the dollars in your pocket. It is an invisible tax on your existence. But here is the darkest part of the gold lie. In the current system, money is a liability. Look at a dollar bill. It is a Federal Reserve note. A note is a debt instrument. It is an IOU. It relies on a counterparty, the government, to have value. If the government fails, the money fails. Gold is an asset. It is nobody's liability. It has no counterparty risk. If the banks collapse, if the grid goes down, if the government dissolves, an ounce of gold is still an ounce of gold. The system hates gold because the system thrives on debt. They want you in the debt trap. They want you chasing yield, investing in the stock market, buying bonds, keeping your money inside their digital casino. If you hold gold, you have opted out of their casino. You have stepped off the hamster wheel. You are holding the one thing they cannot print and cannot control. That is why they ridicule it. For 50 years, mainstream economists, bankers, and media pundits have told you that gold is a pet rock. They told you it's a barbarous relic. They told you it pays no interest. They told you to trust the paper, trust the stock market, trust the digital numbers on your screen. But while they were telling you to sell your gold, look at what they were doing. Watch the hands, not the mouth. If gold is a useless relic, why are central banks buying it at the fastest pace in history? In 2022 and 2023, central banks bought record amounts of gold. China, Russia, India, Poland, Singapore. They are hoarding it. Why? Because they know the dollar system is ending. They saw what happened to Russia when its foreign reserves were frozen overnight. They realized that if you hold dollars or bonds, you don't own money. You own a permission slip from the United States. If you want sovereign wealth, you need an asset that cannot be frozen. You need gold. Even the rules of the banking system have changed in secret. Basel III, a boring technical banking regulation that nobody talked about, but it reclassified gold as a Tier 1 asset. For decades, gold was considered risky on a bank's balance sheet. Now it is considered as good as cash. The bankers have quietly admitted that gold is the ultimate collateral. They are preparing for a reset. They are stacking real money while they leave you holding the bag of depreciating paper currency. The gold lie is unraveling. The era of unlimited debt and fake money is hitting a mathematical wall. You see it in the inflation numbers. You see it in the exploding national debt. So, what is your defense? Do what the central banks do, not what they say. They are exiting the fiat system. You should too. This doesn't mean you sell everything tomorrow. It means you understand the difference between currency and money.
Currency is a tool for trade. Money is a store of value. Gold and silver are physical money. They are your insurance against the death of the currency. And in the digital age, Bitcoin has emerged as digital gold, hard, capped supply, decentralized, unseizable. It is the spiritual successor to the gold standard in a digital world. The choice is yours. You can keep your wealth in a system designed to bleed you dry, holding paper promises from bankrupt governments. Or you can hold the assets that have outlived every empire in history. The heist happened in 1933. The cover-up happened in 1971. But the reckoning is happening now. Don't be left holding the paper when the music stops. If you want to survive the financial transition, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. History has the answers, and I'll show you where to look.